Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today we're diving into a document so exciting it's like reading a phone book from 1990. Just kidding, we're decoding Viemed Healthcare's latest filing, and it's more interesting than you might think, especially when you get to the parts about how executives are paid. Stick around because we're going to break down what it all means. This filing is from the company itself. First, there's a letter to shareholders inviting them to the annual meeting. It outlines the business they'll cover, looking at the financial statements, electing directors, appointing auditors, and voting on executive pay. They're also asking to approve some changes to their long-term incentive plan, which is how they pay their top people with company stock. One of the main things shareholders will vote on is who gets to sit on the board of directors. There are 7 seats up for grabs, and the current directors are all hoping to be re-elected. Let's talk about how the votes work. Each share gets 1 vote, and you can either vote in person or send in a proxy, which is like giving someone else your vote. The meeting is scheduled for June 5, 2025 in Lafayette, Louisiana. The management of Viemed says there is not any director or executive officer with a special interest that may conflict in any matter to be acted. As of April 9, 2025, the company had about 39.5 million shares outstanding. Each share gets 1 vote at the meeting. Here's where it gets interesting. How many shares do the big bosses actually own? Casey Hoyt, the CEO, owns or controls about 3 million shares, which is around 8.1% of the company. Michael Moore, the president, has about 2.6 million shares, or 6.6%. Todd Zinenda, the chief operating officer, controls about 960,000 shares, or 2.4%. The largest shareholders, other than the CEO and president, are Threefen Financial for Lutherans and BlackRock Inc. At the shareholder meeting, there are several important items on the agenda: the election of directors, the appointment of auditors, and some key votes on executive compensation. The shareholders will elect 7 directors. The board recommends voting for all of them. The directors are elected through a plurality, meaning the 7 nominees who get the most votes win, but there is a majority voting policy. Under a majority voting policy, any director nominee who gets more withhold votes than 4 votes has to offer to resign. The company wants to reappoint Ernst & Young LL as their auditors for the next year. The board also wants permission to decide how much the auditors get paid. FIB board recommends a vote for this proposal. So how much did they pay Ernst & Young anyway? In 2024, audit fees were about $973,000, $173,000, and tax fees were around $191,000 sestic. The previous year, the totals were around $713,000 and $212,000 respectively. One key proposal is to increase the number of shares available for the long-term incentive plan, the 2024 Omnibus Plan, which is used to pay directors, officers, and consultants. They want to be able to issue up to 7.9 million shares, including 1 million as incentive stock options. The purpose of this plan is to bring in and keep talented people, aligning their interests with those of the shareholders. This section discusses what happens to stock awards if there's a change in control of the company, like if it gets bought out. The shareholders get a chance to give a non-binding advisory vote on how the top executives are paid, called a say-on-pay vote. Shareholders can also advise on how often the advisory vote on executive compensation takes place. Here they talk about how the company is run, what's called corporate governance. The board says that Randy Dobbs, Nitin Kaushal, Timothy Smokoff, and Sabrina Heltz are independent directors. Casey Hoyt, Todd Zender, and William Fraser are not, because they're company employees. There are committees on the board that focus on specific things like audits, compensation, and corporate governance. This is a statement from the compensation committee, who are in charge of deciding how much the executives get paid. This section dives into the details of what the top executives make. Here's where the numbers come in. In 2024, CEO Casey Hoyt's total compensation was about $2.6 million. This included a salary of about $530,000, a bonus, stock awards, and other compensation. Michael Moore and Todd Zender each made about $2 million. CFO Trey Fitzgerald made around $872,000. General Counsel Jeremy Trahan made around $147,000. There are charts comparing CEO pay and company performance, like net income and revenue. This section talks about what happens if an executive leaves the company or if there's a change in control. The company has insurance policies that cover the directors and officers, costing around $461,000 a year. Want more details? The company's annual report on Form 10K is available upon request. Finally, there's Schedule R, which contains the amendment to the 2024 Long-Term Incentive Plan. Texting, in my opinion, Viemed is at an interesting crossroads. Their executive compensation seems pretty high, but it's directly aligned with certain performance metrics, and they try to align the executives' interests with those of shareholders. One notable risk I see is with information security. While they have processes and technology in place, the digital landscape is ever-changing, and cybersecurity breaches could hurt the company's operations and reputation. Overall, Viemed seems to be navigating a complex healthcare landscape, but like any business, faces risks and rewards. That's all for this Corporate Decoder. If you found this breakdown helpful, give us a like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of corporate filings. Thanks for watching.